All right. Let's start with a bit of background just on me before I go into the submission of the project. I'm Len. I work at Binary Builders, basically leading the validator business there. Online, I usually go by Moonman, and some of you also may know me from the Interchain Builders program. So the background here is I'm the founder of Kujira Index. Essentially, we looked at the Kujira ecosystem to see what piece is still missing, what's a piece that no one has built yet. And if you look at traditional finance, index funds is, of course, a big thing. So we decided to build Kujira Index, which I've assembled a small team, and we've built that for the past couple of months. We're on testnet, and we're going to launch hopefully in the next 1 or 2 months, barring any bigger setbacks. But the first index that's going to launch on this protocol is basically a basket of assets of tokens that are on Kujira. And then later, you know, there could be one with large caps or one with Cosmos staking tokens. It's really up in the air. But when we were building the first one, which is called KJI, we realized that there is no real place to learn about all the tokens that exist in the Kujira ecosystem, especially with data. So you can go on Fin, and then you're sort of overwhelmed with a lot of assets that are there. And if you want to learn about them, sure, there is the Kujira ecosystem page that lists all the projects, but it pretty much has a description and then the links to these projects, and then you have to really dig deep to figure out data or tokenomics and basically data points that you may want before you want to invest in these assets. There are a few other dashboards like Kujira Track app, and then MantaFi has something, but they're usually specific just to either just one project or the Kujira core dApps. So we really figured out, or we really thought there is this need for a place where users can come and see all the tokens on Kujira and get a little bit of data that they might want to, to figure out if these tokens are sound, what maybe the token distribution looks like, which is sometimes actually hard to find out. You have to dig deep into docs of the specific projects. And then also stuff like pricing. I mean, that's a bit more trivial because you can see that on Fin itself. But then also metrics like revenue, which I think is obviously very important, you know, if you want to see if a project has traction, if it sends revenue back to the token, etc. So the idea here is to build a dashboard that gives user easy access to token-related data, especially for users that are new on the Kujira ecosystem that maybe don't know all the dApps yet and everything that's going on. So essentially, this is a screenshot of how it looks, but I much rather show you the actual implementation. Essentially, it's a UI with currently these 7 tokens. It gives fairly, straightforward info that you would have on the Kujira ecosystem page as well, such as explaining the token, what's behind it, and then links to the social media. But then it also shows token distribution, so you can really see, how was the token initially distributed, maybe, are there any VCs, that sort of thing. And then it also shows pricing data and then revenue as well. So here, for example, we see, in last, I think it's 10 days, one day had a big spike. I talked to Hans. Essentially, that's something where Kujira, triggers certain revenue distribution only every so often. So you can clearly see that here. But then that's sort of the daily revenue in terms of Kuji as well. So essentially, that's just for all the tokens that exist here. Some don't have any revenue sharing or revenue collecting yet, such as Wink, for example. And then, Unstake is one that does have revenue, but it's fairly new. So we have nothing on some days, but then on other days, there is revenue. Essentially, the way I built this is, the initial distributions, that's static data. So usually you just have to dig deep into the docs and sort of figure out where that's coming from. And then for pricing data, I did a mix of CoinGecko and the Kuji pricing oracles. And then revenue was sort of the bigger challenge. Big shout out to Numia here, who are indexing data on a lot of Cosmos chains, but also on Kujira, and they have a public database of event-based data. So I dug through the events to figure out, where's the distribution module of each of these contracts, and then build an API to essentially call that on the front end. Yeah, so pretty much this is almost ready to launch for public and hopefully serve as an entry point for new users of the ecosystem. There's a little bit of pricing data that needs to be, or price fetching that needs to be optimized to sort of work around the CoinGecko limits, but that's not a hard problem. So yeah, hopefully this goes live next week. And then in terms of Kujira Index, what we are building, if you want to stay up to date, feel free to follow us on Twitter. Again, we're hoping to go live pretty soon. And yeah, we're pretty excited for that. Thanks, everyone.